Welcome to the GLP-1 revolution. Thanks for coming. My name is John Legier. I'm the marketing director for Legier Pharmaceuticals. This is Rochelle. She's one of our sales reps who works in the Arizona area. She's got about 20 minutes worth of slides, 20 or 30 minutes worth of slides, and then we'll finish with some Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions at any point throughout the session, please just drop them in the Q&A. And like I said, we'll answer them at the end. I think we're even going to have a special guest who's going to help answer some of those questions about GLP-1s. All right, so Rochelle, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, John, and good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Rochelle, and I'm a regional product consultant here at Legier Pharmaceuticals. And today I am so excited to share all the details about building out a comprehensive GLP-1 agonist program that's not only going to benefit your clinic, but your patients as well. Everyone's going to be happy. So excited to share those details. As John mentioned, don't be shy, ask those questions. Plenty of time for Q&A at the end. But without further ado, let's dive right into the hottest topic in the medical weight loss industry, arguably the medical industry today, and that is the GLP-1 agonists. First came on the scene in 2005 when the FDA approved the very first GLP-1 agonist called exenatide, stemming from the word exendin-4, which is a chemical compound that helps regulate blood glucose. And fun fact for you on this Thursday, I read about this recently. Exendin-4 actually is a chemical compound commonly found in the venom of Gila monsters, which we're based out of Arizona, so we're familiar with Gila monsters. And if you aren't, it's a funky looking lizard that you don't want to touch, very venomous, but it can help regulate your blood glucose. So the exenatide was meant primarily for patients battling type 2 diabetes to help regulate their blood glucose. And that does that by mimicking the gut hormone that sends a signal to the pancreas to release additional insulin. Additional insulin. So it also slows down gastric emptying, which is going to release less glucose into the bloodstream from food. So when you slow down the gastric emptying, it's also going to send a signal to the brain that you're full. You can stop eating. So it increases those feelings of satiety while also helping to regulate the blood glucose. So these patients on GLP-1 agonists were not only experiencing a great new blood glucose, but they're also experiencing this wonderful side effect of weight loss. Patients were seeing weight loss as early as 4 weeks, peaking usually around 60 to 68. And this did not go unnoticed. The FDA did finally approve the GLP-1 agonists in 2014. So now the market is opened up to med spas, weight loss clinics. Everyone has access to this groundbreaking medication to help with their weight loss. So that did put a little bit of pressure on the supply and demand chain. And as I'm sure you're all aware, in 2022, the FDA did announce a shortage. So whenever there's a shortage, the medication goes on the shortage list per the FDA. And that allows all the other compounding pharmacies across America to start helping out with this shortage, make sure no one's left without their medication. So let's take a look at compounding pharmacies in general, just a brief overview, because their background and their history is kind of interesting. Compounding pharmacies, the traditional 503A that most of us are familiar with, originated out of that need for a direct line of communication from physician to pharmacist. Specific medication needed to be compounded for a specific patient. That script is sent to the pharmacy where that pharmacist then compounds the medication for that specific patient, keyword specific, 503A patient specific. However, today compounding pharmacies have exploded to the point of basically acting as small scale manufacturers. And this evolution is actually a pretty crazy story. I'll give you the cliff notes here. In 2012, a meningitis outbreak was traced back to a Massachusetts compounding pharmacy. They were violating several regulations. Some of those were large batch, so they weren't patient specific. They were faulty sterilization techniques, cutting corners in testing procedures. So because they were cutting all these corners, this fungal outbreak ended up affecting 750 people across 20 states. So it wasn't just secluded to Massachusetts. It ended up killing 60 people. So obviously the government had to get involved here, 60 people losing their life from something that could have been prevented. So acting president at the time in 2013, Barack Obama, passed the Drug Quality and Security Act, which gave the FDA new controls over compounding pharmacies with many implications in the market and the industry. But out of this act came the creation of the 503B outsourcing facility. The compounding pharmacy 503B meant for those larger batches, which is going to allow for a much greater freedom to operate than a traditional 503A pharmacy. However, they are also subject to much more stringent regulations and SOPs. So briefly, we'll just look at the difference between the two pharmacies and their regulations. The 503A, as I mentioned, patient specific. So they are held to high regulatory standards. They have to comply with the USP 795 and 797, along with the State Board of Pharmacies. And they use those beyond use dating. They test often every 6 months to ensure that products are stable and sterile. The 503B, which is the office use, large batch, non-patient specific. So no need to write a script, whether you're ordering 1 vial of semaglutide or 800 vials of semaglutide. It all ships directly to the office to be administered in office. So these 503B pharmacies can also provide patient-specific medication and are held to those higher regulatory standards, as I mentioned. So they're also compliant with that same USP 795 and 797. U.S. State Board of Pharmacy, the 21 CFR Part 210 and 211. I'll spare you reading that out loud. It's very boring. We can save that for another day. But they're compliant among several other regulations and guidelines, as well as maintaining the full compliance with the current good manufacturing practices. So another thing I'd like to notice as we're looking at medications being on or off the shortage list, when you are a 503A pharmacy and a drug is removed from the shortage list, obviously the nature of a 503A pharmacy is you receive a script, you then compound the drug. So as soon as that drug is removed from the shortage list, that pharmacy can no longer accept those scripts. Whereas a 503B pharmacy who's maybe already had several batches, large batch orders, they're allowed to sell through that amount. They don't have to discard it. So the 503B has a little bit more flexibility. If a drug were to be removed from the shortage list, they have a little bit more flexibility to go through those batches as a 503B pharmacy. So shifting gears back into the GLP-1 agonists themselves, when you offer the GLP-1 agonist, your patient's going to come into your clinic. You're going to have that initial consultation. You'll discuss what to expect with their subcutaneous injection and the titration, the dosing schedule for semaglutide starting at 0.25, then finishing at that max dose of 2.5. You'll probably do a weigh-in and educate them on what to expect. And what to expect a lot of times is going to be the side effects. So we need to educate our patients on these side effects because they can be quite debilitating. And in a lot of studies, we're seeing that participants are discontinuing treatment entirely. They're unable to increase their dose according to the titration schedule. They're just way too sick. They feel awful and they stop because of these GI events. So those side effects, the main ones seem to be bloating, constipation, nausea, in some cases diarrhea. We're hearing about a lot of burping and indigestion, heartburn. But another one is muscle loss. So there's a lot of muscle wasting that is taking place with semaglutide and tirzepatide. We're actually seeing numbers upwards of 40% of the weight loss per patient is muscle mass. We typically want to keep that under 20%. In any weight loss program, patients are going to lose muscle mass. But on this GLP-1 agonist program, we're seeing higher numbers. So something worth noting, if your patient is able to get past these debilitating side effects and get to that finish line, and reach that blood glucose level, that weight loss goal that they're looking for, we also need to look at the long-term results. We need to look at what happens when it's time to start titrating our patients down. They're coming off of the medication. We need to look at the numbers and see what happens when they're finished with their program. So studies have shown, as I mentioned, that semaglutide can result in weight loss as fast as 4 weeks, peaking at week 60 to 68, which is what we're going to look at on this chart here in a moment. But studies are also showing that the weight rebound can occur just as fast after discontinuing treatment with semaglutide. So this chart, this green bar, the very first bar you're looking at, that shows week 68, and that shows 93.6% of their patients achieved blood glucose levels in the normal, healthy range. They've probably lost all their weight. They're feeling great. Then they come off of the medication. They're no longer on the semaglutide. And now we see this huge chunk of yellow here, 55%. This is week 120. So from week 68, when they stop their medication, fast forward to week 120, 55% have returned to pre-diabetes blood glucose levels. And that is a large rebound number. We're seeing in other studies, 2/3 of patients are returning to their original weight after coming off of the GLP-1 agonist. So what this tells us is that the medication, the GLP-1 agonist, is not solving the underlying issue that led to the weight gain in the first place. And we're also seeing that that is the insulin resistance. They're not accounting for that in the long term. So there is a time and a place for GLP-1 agonists. We know how well it works. We just need to make sure that its usage ultimately leads to those sustainable lifestyle changes. We have to do better. We have to provide more than just the injection. We need to look at that complete care. We need to allow our patients to benefit from the vitamins, the minerals, the aminos, the enzymes, all those nutrients that you're well aware work very well. We need to make sure that they are taking all of those, and that's going to help lead to those sustainable lifestyle changes. And that starts on day one. So in order to be successful on a GLP-1 agonist program, we want our patients to be able to maintain and continue on their dosing schedule. Now, they can't do that if the side effects are too severe to continue. So we think that it is best, and our clinics are seeing a lot of results, with taking care of the gut health first. And it is my opinion, and I would say the scientific opinion, that a lot of the weight loss starts in the gut. If your gut isn't healthy, your digestive system isn't healthy, you've just got stumbling blocks in your way, it's going to be really hard for you to lose weight. So let's go ahead and take care of our patients' gut health, their digestive system at the very beginning, so that they are going to be successful. And in the GLP-1 agonist case, we're going to prevent those side effects from occurring in the first place. So by being proactive and not reactive, we can really help our patients succeed through the program and not have to resort to Zofran or a laxative. That means you waited too long, your patient's not happy, and you're not happy because now they got to go to Walgreens and pick up their script for some Zofran. So let's take a look at what's helping our clinics right now. What we like to use is the ACR2X. That stands for aloe, cascara, and rhubarb. Also has ginger in it, very soothing. The ACR2X is going to help tremendously with the constipation. It is a mild root cleanse, a lower bowel stimulator. And as I mentioned, the ginger is very soothing. So if you take 2 a night, that's going to help you stay regular. You can take 4 to 5 if you've got someone who's got a little bit more of a severe issue, but a really great product just to help keep things moving and keep their digestive system healthy. We like to pair that with our Biprozyme. That's that next product. The Biprozyme is a room temp probiotic with enzymes and ginger. So again, the ginger, this is one of my favorite products. You open up that bottle and you can smell the ginger. Really helps with the nausea, the bloating. But that room temp probiotic is key because that lactospore, when it hits your body temperature and it's already room temp, it makes its way all the way to the gut as opposed to a cold one, which would die off. Most of it would. So that 1 billion CFU gets all the way to the gut and then it colonizes. So it's actually colonizing in your gut, which is why those room temp probiotics are so important. And ours has the ginger in it as well as additional enzymes to help with absorption. Again, it's going to help with the bloating and the nausea. And then you'll notice the Provenzyme, which is going to be more of a comprehensive digestive enzyme product. It's got 8 of your essential digestive enzymes. So having those enzymes on board is going to help with that nutrient absorption. This one helps a lot with the burping, the heartburn, the indigestion. Because of that slowing of the gastric emptying, we're hearing a lot of those issues because everything's just kind of stuck. So we want to make sure our body's absorbing everything properly, and that is how we've been helping clinics do it. So these 3 products I just mentioned are going to help with those GI side effects. And most of our clinics, as I said, are starting on day 1. It's packaged together and handed to the patient kind of as their starter kit or goodie bag, if you will, so that they're leaving the office with something that they can start right away that's going to help them on their weight loss journey and also prevent the side effects. This 4th product, the Nutriline, which I haven't mentioned yet, this goes back to that side effect that I was really harping on, the muscle wasting. Obviously, lift weights, eat the protein, but take Nutriline as well. It's going to help preserve the lean muscle mass. It is high-dose L-carnitine. We've got 500 milligrams in there. And we pair that with forskolin. So both of those are going to help preserve the lean muscle mass. But the cool thing about that combination is the forskolin actually breaks up or mobilizes the fat, and the L-carnitine burns it. So you have a really unique combo that works well together to help boost the fat burn. So not only are we preserving lean muscle mass, but we are burning fat as well. So this product, great to start on day 1. Also great to offer a la carte for your patient on month 2 or 3 that's hit that plateau and isn't losing the weight anymore. Give them the Nutriline, and that'll really kick their fat burn into high gear and help them maintain that muscle mass, which gives them a greater efficient metabolism anyways. So now that we've supported our patients through their journey on the GLP-1s, because we've given them the enzymes, the probiotic, the root cleanse, they've been able to reach their blood glucose levels, lose the weight, and now it's time to start titrating down. So looking back at that chart, we saw that high rebound rate, and it's evident to me, and the numbers are showing it, that this is what clinics are missing right now. And just talking to clinics daily, this is what people don't know what to do with. So when you're titrating your patients down from semaglutide and tirzepatide, their hunger is coming back. And as we saw, their blood glucose levels are no longer going to be normalized. Once they come off the medication, we need something in place to help them maintain their progress. They spent all this time and money. We do not want them to rebound. They're going to be very angry and confused. So we need to offer a solution. And what Legier has done is we've looked at some aminos, some minerals, some vitamins that work really well for the long term that they can take for years. And what we have been using for the appetite suppression, so I'm going to cover a couple of things: the appetite suppression, the blood glucose, and the metabolism in this base kit here. The DiuCaps is to help with the appetite suppression. So that is our phentermine alternative, but not a stimulant. It is not controlled. You actually take one at night. So this is one of my favorite products. The active ingredient is L-phenylalanine, which, if you're unfamiliar or haven't ever used L-phenylalanine, you're going to want to now. It is an amino acid commonly found in meat and dairy. And what it does is it mimics those same neural pathways as phentermine, because it releases the dopamine, the norepinephrine, triggers that CCK, satiety hormone. Keyword satiety, tells your brain you're full, stop eating, which is what the semaglutide and tirzepatide was doing. And now that's gone. So we need to support and make sure our patients are not rebounding with that appetite. So the DiuCaps, the L-phenylalanine, is also great because, unlike phentermine, you do not need to qualify. You do not need to come off of it after 2 or 3 months. It's actually encouraged to take long term because it is so great for your brain health. L-phenylalanine actually helps increase blood flow to the brain, helps with word recall, brain fog. I think we could all use some L-phenylalanine in our life. So I'm sure a lot of you will be calling me about that one. We do have white papers on it, very fascinating amino acid that I love to talk about. So that covers your appetite suppression. The DNS, the doctor's nutritional support, is what's going to help with the blood glucose regulation. So this is our GLP-1 agonist multivitamin. So it has GLP-1 agonist ingredients. They are called Gemma sylvestre, Mamortica carantia, vanadyl sulfate. Also has chromium and magnesium. Those might be more familiar to you than those first three, but they act as GLP-1 agonists. They're still mimicking the gut hormone to help the pancreas release additional insulin. So that is why this multivitamin is so great, because patients are probably already taking a multivitamin. So they just have to switch to this one. This one is going to help them on their weight loss journey to keep the blood glucose regulated so they don't see that rebound rate. We also like to pair that with our Be Thin spray. And everyone's probably like, how do you get skinny from a spray? Well, let me tell you, it is a sublingual lipotropic. So it goes under the tongue, so it has a very high absorption rate. We do also have it in tablet form, but the sublingual lipotropic spray is similar to those same ingredients that probably a lot of you are currently offering in your clinic as a skinny shot, a MIC B12 shot, a lipotropic shot. And what that means is the lipotropics is your methionine, inositol, and choline, right? The MIC. That's fat loving is what lipotropics mean. It's your fat burner, your liver detox. But it also has L-carnitine, and it has B12 in the purest form, methylcobalamin. So the Be Thin spray has that unique, great combination to help them continue with their fat burn, continue with that efficient metabolism, so that they can keep going with their weight loss journey. This whole kit right here just covers all those bases, so that you're keeping everything in key and you're not going to rebound and gain that weight back. But it can also be paired with a weekly lipotropic shot. If you've got your person that was really enjoying being injected weekly, you can continue injecting with that lipotropic shot every week. So this kit, as I'm mentioning, as it pertains to GLP-1 agonists, is excellent for when you're titrating them down for that long-term maintenance phase. But it's also a great option for your patient that's hit that plateau in the middle of their journey, or that patient who walks in on day one and says, I want the top tier weight loss program. I want to lose weight as fast as I can. You can also incorporate these items in for that patient. But the one patient that you're really going to need this for as well is that patient that walks in that doesn't want to be on a GLP-1 agonist, doesn't want to be on phentermine, HCG, doesn't want any of those. They want the old school diet and exercise. This is your kit to hand them, and this is going to facilitate all those lifestyle changes that are going to lead to sustainable weight loss. So the most important takeaway here is that all of these products, all these programs are coming from you as the provider. So that provider to consumer model, it works so much better than the direct to consumer model. The direct to consumer model is so flawed. It puts the ball in the court of the patient who is ill-equipped to handle weight loss. It's way too complicated. But learning what to do, being educated by the provider who knows what causes weight loss and can address those behavioral, emotional issues that might be causing the weight gain in the first place, that is where our patients are going to see the success. And we've got 50 years, I shouldn't say we, I'm far too young. Leger has 50 years of experience in the weight loss world. We've seen all the fads, all the trends, and we know that that one common denominator is you, the provider, having those weekly meetings, maybe monthly meetings, telehealth, maybe in person, but giving them that degree of emotional support to help them and encourage them on their journey so that they can continue on their weight loss journey and reach that goal. So that one-on-one consultation can also alleviate any issues, any unforeseen issues, and allow for smooth transitions if a new diet, maybe a new product is needed because they've encountered a new issue. So that's a great way to really encourage your patients. And patients feel like they are not being sold, right? They feel like they are being prescribed the best formulas for their customized program. So these protocols are integrated into your programming. It's not just a product sitting on a shelf that you can or cannot take. You know what's best for your patient, and you've got everything integrated into your programming to really maximize and boost results and make sure that they are on task, losing the weight according to your plan. So for patients, you're going to see a lot of positive health impacts. We already know that your patients are going to be happy. Overall vitality, they're going to feel better as long as you're supporting them with those aminos and minerals and vitamins. But one thing I will mention, and I always see this with clients of mine that I've had in the past, anytime you start a weight loss program, you're usually going to see your immune system and your energy levels take a hit, right? Because your body's kind of in shock, lower calorie diet, you're exercising. So there's a way to avoid that getting sick right off the bat and just feeling like garbage. Because that's going to prohibit the patient from going to the weight room and going out and walking if they're not feeling great. So by providing these nutrients, these aminos, these minerals, these vitamins, it's going to help ensure that their immune system stays in peak performance and their energy feels great so that they can lose the weight and stay on task. Very important. So for the providers, let's look at the positive impact and how this is going to help your clinic. And it's going to differentiate you from the market. So as I mentioned, that protocol when you're titrating patients down, having that in place, integrating that in is already going to set you apart. But you're going to enhance the patient care. Your patients are going to be happier, which means more patients for you, higher patient volume. But we're going to talk about some dollars and cents here about just increasing your revenue stream. And it really is turnkey. And I'll show you how turnkey it is. Using the example of the GLP1 agonist digestive support kit, that kit that I mentioned we hand to the patient on day one, it's already integrated into that initial consultation fee. It costs $57 wholesale to you, and then it retails at $114. So you're going to see a $57 profit per kit. So if you multiply that by 150 patients per month, you're going to see a profit of $8,550. That's just extra dollars in your pocket. You've already got the system in place. This is going to every patient. It's part of your program. So that is how turnkey that is. So it's a no-brainer to have these things in place, because if you don't have it in place, your patient's going to get it from Walgreens or Costco. Who knows what kind of quality ingredients they're getting and where that revenue stream is going. It sure isn't going to you. So we want to make sure that you have these programs in place for your patients to help with the patient convenience too and compliance. So going back to that provider to consumer model, they're getting it from you, so they're going to comply. You've told them this is going to help them lose weight. It's convenient because you just handed it to them, or they've maybe bought it on your online store. And it's good quality ingredients. They're getting these products from an FDA approved facility. These are proven ingredients. We know that they work. Our 50 years in the weight loss industry has helped us formulate everything that we possibly can to make that boost the results, help with the gut health and the immune system, give them energy. And it's customized. I haven't even mentioned this part. This is the best part. All of these products are available to be practice branded. So we can put your logo, your website, your QR code, clinic information, phone number, can all go right there on the bottle, and we do it for you. You send us your logo, we match your vibe with the colors and the font, make sure we have everything cohesive, so you now have your own brand to offer in office, which is very important. And I'll tell this one story because I hear stories like this all the time. But a patient went to lunch with her friends, and after lunch, she got out her Be Thin spray, did her sprays under the tongue. And of course, all of her friends were like, "What did you just do? What is that?" And on the bottle, it says Dr. Smith's weight loss, QR code. Guess what her friends did? Scanned the QR code, and bam, Dr. Smith just got a few new patients. So increasing patient volume, patient retention, and then clinic visibility. Just having that business card on these unique products is so impactful and so easy to do. It's like, why wouldn't you do it? I hope I've helped answer some of the questions that you guys have started asking, but I would like to mention before we start asking those questions that whether or not you're offering or starting to offer a GLP-1 agonist program, we can help build out your weight loss program so that it's all cohesive and that it supports what you're trying to accomplish. So very customizable, lots of different options. And we hope to help support you, whether it's with injectables and orals and injectables, either way you decide to go. So before we start answering the questions, I would like to say, if you are a current customer of ours, maybe you're already working with a rep, please reach out to them, send them an email, give them a call for additional information, white papers, pricing. If you're new and you would like more information, this is my info. My email is right here for you. So take a screenshot of that. Feel free to call me directly at that phone number as well. And then I think we are ready to answer some questions. John, do you want to chime in here? And I believe we've got Dan on the call as well to help with some of those 503B compounding questions, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we got some good questions that came in. Let's see, Dan, are you on, or it looks like he's still getting warmed up here?
Yeah, I think I made it on.
All right,
So
perfect.
yeah, let me see. Okay. All
So
right.
let's see. We want to start with some of the pharmacy questions. So yeah, we there was a couple of questions there. How much longer can you produce the GLP-1s? Can you just maybe address the whole GLP-1 shortage situation?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of stuff going on with GLP-1s. And, I'm director of business development with Olympia Pharmacy, so I kind of get a front row seat to some of the stuff that's going on. We get a lot of regulatory letters and things like that. And we have a great regulatory team that's kind of on top of this stuff all the time. So, recently Eli Lilly's been making a lot of noise. They sent out a bunch of cease and desist letters to different pharmacies and different clinics that were using GLP-1s. And the truth of the matter is, and they're the ones who have tirzepatide. So the truth of the matter is tirzepatide is still on the shortage list. So and Novo Nordisk did this a couple of years ago with semaglutide, started sending cease and desist and doing all this stuff. And the FDA stepped in and said, basically what the FDA said, as long as this is still listed on the FDA website as a shortage item, compounding pharmacies, specifically 503B compounding pharmacies, can continue to make it. So based on all the information, I won't bore you with all the details, but based on all the information that I have, semaglutide is probably safe to keep compounding probably for 12, 18, maybe 24 more months at least. And the thing is, they keep coming out with new uses for semaglutide. So they're like, oh, it does this, it does that, and all of a sudden, so demand keeps going up and up. I get this question a lot. Well, if you guys can get the API and make the product, then how come the big manufacturers can't? And how come there's a shortage? And that's a great question. But the reality of it is, for the big manufacturers, when they create a drug, and this is very important to understand, when a big manufacturer creates a drug, that drug is not only what's in the container, and that's what the FDA calls a syringe or a vial. They call them containers. So it's not only what's in the container, but it's the container itself and the method that's made to use it. So the shortage on the manufacturer side isn't really on the ingredient that makes the drug. It's the injectors. So if you noticed, Eli Lilly just got FDA approval on I think it's called, I might pronounce this wrong, Zepbound. That's tirzepatide, but guess what? It's in a vial. So Eli Lilly said, oh crap, we're going to stay on shortage if we keep doing this in cartridges and in injectors. So let's switch to vials. So now they've come out with vials in an attempt to end the shortage quickly. And that's actually a pretty shrewd move by them to come out with a vial, because there aren't any shortage of vials. Olympia buys millions of vials a month, so they're readily available. So I would say if the risk on losing a GLP-1 is going to be on tirzepatide. But here's the thing: as when the FDA comes out and says, okay, let's pick a date. Let's say September 1st, we're taking tirzepatide off the shortage list. The way we understand it, the way our regulatory has coached us, is we can still make it for 60 days. So we can still produce it for 60 days. So we would be able to make it for September and October. We would have to stop production by November, but then we can sell whatever we've made to that point. And I think our BUD is about to go to 6 months on tirzepatide. So we would have about 6 months of medication on tirzepatide. So that's the one that I see, closest in the rearview mirror. That's the one that's kind of catching up right now. I don't see anything like that happening for semaglutide unless Novo Nordisk is working behind the scenes, because I know Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly had kind of teamed up, and they've been going to all these regulatory meetings and saying, hey, there is no shortage, and the FDA is going, if you can't service everybody who needs it, there's a shortage. So there's all this back and forth. So that being said, maybe Novo Nordisk is going to take the Eli Lilly route and maybe start producing it in vials. I don't know. If that happens, that may end the semaglutide shortage faster. But for right now, on the information I have, is tirzepatide is still on the shortage list, still able to be made. If they take it off, we have 60 days to produce, and then we can sell through what we have. And semaglutide, there's really no end in sight based on the way they're making semaglutide now. There's no end in sight to the shortage. That might change if Novo Nordisk changes the way they make it, or they get a new drug approved by the FDA that's in vials or something. Then that'll bring it off shorter. But from the pharmacy standpoint, that's what I know.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that was the main question on the pharmacy there. Let's see, we did have a couple of other questions. So there's a question, can you touch on how I might keep vials in stock at my clinic and administering the weekly injections to patients? So yeah, so Dan here, he's from Olympia Pharmacy. They're a 503B compounding pharmacy that we partner with. So if you order through us, you'll get the 503B compounded medications, which are available for in-office use, which means you can order as much as you want and administer them in your office as you want.
Yeah, and exactly. And you can when you buy the office use medication and you guys get those vials. Of course, there's a BUD date on it. They're stored, but you can buy as many as you want. Store them at your office. You just have to, based on the volume and how much you're selling, don't buy vials that you can't use before the BUD runs out. But other than that, you can store them, keep them, use them on your patients. So that's fine. I think we're coming out with a new. We're coming out with a new vial size, a new concentration of semaglutide. I believe it's a 6.25 milligram vial, so that should be out in a few weeks. Because we started off with the 15, then we added the 5, and now we're doing a 6.25. So we're kind of doing like a small, medium, large kind of offering on that. One of the things that I know, and I just want to touch on this because I know some of the things that Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly have been. The box they've been standing on a lot is, hey, this isn't safe. These guys don't know what they're doing. The compounders, all this kind of stuff. Here's what happened recently. The FDA sent a letter out, and I'm actually speaking on this point in Phoenix next week when I come out there for a conference and visit with Leger. One of the things I'll be speaking about is this letter that the FDA sent out. So the FDA has something called MedWatch. So when anybody has an adverse reaction or something to a medication, there's a way, there's a phone number, there's a website where people can go and report that. And then the FDA gathers all this information, they trend it, and they say, okay, here's what we found. So they put this letter out, and I know Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk said, oh, it's not safe, the compounders can't make it, all this kind of stuff. But the research on the FDA side basically said this, and as soon as an adverse reaction happens, or you see somebody have an adverse reaction, Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are going, see, look what happened, look what happened. But the truth of the matter is, with the data that the FDA gathered, here's what they found. First of all, they said incorrect dosing. So incorrect dosing of the medication, and I get it from the physician standpoint and from the patient standpoint, it can be confusing because you have all these different pharmacies making all these different concentrations, and it gets to be like if you're not like a math whiz to say, okay, I need a 250 microgram dose, and I have a 15 milligram per ml vial. How much do I draw up? I mean, put that on the Who's Smarter Than a Fifth Grader TV show. Most people are going to get that wrong unless they're really so the problem is people are drawing up too much and they're injecting the wrong amount. So of course, sometimes they're taking 2, 3, 4 times the amount they're supposed to start with, and you get these adverse reactions. It's not the drug. You have to be real careful. And we've put out some good documentation that we've shared with Legier on. Okay, here's the vial, here's the concentration, here's a picture of the syringe, and this is how much you should draw up. So we're trying to put those education pieces out there that help with that. And then sometimes physicians, they had a lot of data where physicians were actually, instead of titrating every 4 weeks, they were titrating every week or every 2 weeks. And sometimes they were having their patients inject twice a week. None of that falls into the protocol that was developed by the manufacturers, and that's what we recommend you follow. So if you go outside that and you have adverse reactions, it's like, yeah, of course you will. So you just have to be careful on the dosing, understand the dosing, understand what to draw up, how often to inject, how much to inject, and when to titrate up and down. And if you follow those things, that pretty much addresses everything that was on that FDA letter that came out back in July.
So thanks for that, Dan.
Yep. Where's the letter? Can we get it? Yeah, I see a bunch of questions. Yeah, you can find that letter online. I would Google recent FDA letter regarding GLP-1s. You could probably find it that way. Anything the FDA puts out is available publicly. They don't do anything. They send it to all the nursing boards. We're part of a coalition of 503Bs. They send it there. So a whole bunch of places. So yeah, so you can probably find that pretty easily.
Yeah, I think actually if you go on our website, we did a blog kind of addressing that letter as well, kind of echoing a lot of the same things that you mentioned there, Dan.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
We had a few questions about pricing and things like that. For pricing, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Rochelle. Her contact information is on the screen right there. She can get you all the pricing on everything that you need, as well as some kind of recommendations in terms of how to price it to your patients. Let's see. Here's a question. How long can you stay on the injections? I think we know that Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, they're talking about having people be on these injections seemingly forever. But what we kind of feel is that the use of these GLP-1 drugs for long-term maintenance is probably not going to be the ideal path for everyone. And so the natural products that we make, that we're recommending here, they'll help the patients kind of make those better health choices, giving them a boost to their metabolism and really allowing them to maintain that weight in a healthy fashion.
And it looks like someone also asked, are the 4 Ligier products good to take even for patients who aren't on a GLP-1, and do they still see weight loss results? And the answer is yes, of course. It's helping regulate the blood glucose, it's helping suppress the appetite, helping boost their metabolism. So that's going to encourage those lifestyle changes. They still need a diet and exercise, which we hope people are doing anyways. But yes, they will lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. And defining that weight loss per pound is always the challenge, because if you have someone who's morbidly obese versus someone who just needs to lose 10 pounds, those weight loss numbers are going to look different. But these products work great. They've been proven to work great. So that the answer is yes, you can take those even if you're not on the GLP-1 agonist program.
Yep, and then you can stay on those natural products indefinitely as well.
Mm-hmm.
See, there was a couple of questions in here about sending patients home with pre-filled syringes. Dan, I'm sure that's a question you guys get a lot.
We get that a lot, and from the pharmacy standpoint, that's a big no. Um, just a little background on that. So when we make something at the pharmacy, and I said the FDA refers to everything as container. So a syringe is a container, a vial is a container, a bottle is a container. They're all containers. So let's say we make something at the pharmacy. Let's say this is a vial. We make it in a vial, right? So this vial is now the whole process to make the drug and put it in this vial, stopper the vial, cap the vial, put the label on the vial. That whole process is governed by our CGMP rules. So when we say there's a BUD on this vial, it's just on this vial. As soon as you put a syringe in here and you draw the medication out, all the testing and everything that we did, like it doesn't transfer over to the syringe. Like the BUD, like if the BUD on this is December 31st, 2024, when you pull it into the syringe, the BUD of that syringe is not December 31st, 2024. Once you change containers, which is what you're doing when you draw it up, then you have to fall back to an untested 797 rule, which says I think you have 4 hours to use what's in that syringe. So if you're getting syringes to take home from a weight loss company, it's from a pharmacy standpoint, I have to say no. That's falling outside of regulation. So and as a patient, patients probably don't have to really worry about it. The FDA or the State Board of Pharmacy is not going to come and start looking through your refrigerator and your cabinets to see if you have any syringes drawn up. But if you're at a medical practice, that's something you have to be aware of. If a regulatory body walks in and they find out that you're doing that, you're going to have some explaining to do on that one. So just be careful.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's see. I think we just had some other questions about kind of how to get started, set up an account. Again, I'm going to have you just contact Rochelle. I don't know, Rochelle, do you want to say anything more on that?
Yeah, just reach out to me. The private labeling process is simple. You just send us your logo. Our graphics team handles the rest. You approve the label before we go to print. So we make sure it looks exactly how you want it with all your clinic information on there. And then I can discuss pricing and volume that you're looking to do. Our minimum is 24 for private labeling. I'll say that because I know that's a common question. It is a very simple, seamless process. So just shoot me an email and I can get you all the information to get set up. And I did see one other question on here that I wanted to touch on pertaining to the GLP-1s, saying that obesity is a chronic disease and that some people might need to be on GLP-1s for life, just like blood pressure meds once you get your blood pressure controlled. So I would like to say, sure, a lot of people might be on GLP-1s for long, and John touched on that, and he said it's not the pathway that you want to see. A lot of people might need to stay on it, but a lot of people are going to come off of it, just like a lot of people do come off of blood pressure medication at some point once they get it controlled, or at least alleviate that dose. So, and that's why we offer the products as well, so we can keep their blood glucose regulated after the fact for the long term.
Fantastic. All right. Dan, did you have any parting words that you wanted to share with us?
Actually, no. I think I had a couple things I wanted to touch on for your webinar, and I think I hit on those. Certainly, if anything comes up after we break, just let me know, John. And I appreciate you having me on here. And I will probably see you next week in Phoenix.
I appreciate you coming. Definitely see you next week. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks everybody else for joining us. We are going to be sending out the recording of this session to everybody that registered. That should be going out shortly after we end here.